Now I am going to discuss about the new topic, join. So join method. So before going to discuss about the join method, let's consider an analogy. Suppose, assume there are two friends who are staying in the same room in their hostel, and one day they both came to college to attend their classes. After some times, one of the friend, let's take the name of the friend. For example, one of the friend name is Raju and another friend name is, for example, Shumon. So after some times, the class of Raju's has been completed. So Raju class is over and he is waiting. He is waiting outside the classroom of Shumon, and he is using his mobile phone and make a call to Shumon and asking him whether he wants to come with him or not. So Raju give the information that my class has been completed. What about your class? Whether I have to go to our room or I can wait for you. And at a time, Shumon replied that my class is going on till now. I don't know when it will be completed. If you want to go to your room, you can go that. Otherwise, you can wait for me. So that means Shumon gives some option to the Raju that you can go or you can stay as you wish. But Raju replied that, don't worry, I will wait until completing your class. No problem at all. If I compare these things, this analogy to our threat concept, suppose we have a two thread. One of the thread name is T1 and another thread name is, for example, T2. So T1 is executing, T2 is also executing. After some times, T1 has finished his job, and or for sometimes it may be one of the reason, and want to execute his remaining code. Suppose the T1 job has not finished. Suppose he want to execute his job after some times after completing of T2 thread. Again I am repeating this statement. T1 wants to complete his job after executing T2. So we have to call a join method, and which thread? T2 thread, then T2 dot join means after completing T2, T1 will again execute his process. So please remember, make a note here. Here, this thread, I am just calling the join method on T1 thread, but here we are mentioning when I will join. T1 thread will join after executing T2 thread. So if T2 thread is completed his job, then T1 will be executed. That's why there are T2 dot join method. So when we have seen this kind of situation, what will happen if T1 call his execution? What will happen? Look at that. When we have discussed about the thread life cycle, we know that when we create an instance of a class, so that means my thread T equal to new my thread. So the thread, it belongs to new or born state. When we call the t.start method, the thread moves to the ready or runnable state. Whenever the thread get a chance to execute his code, it depends on the thread scheduler. So if thread scheduler allocated process for this execution of a thread, then the thread moves to the running thread. So compare with T1. So thread T1 is not finished his job. He is waiting for some time for finish the job of T2. So that means when T1 is called T2.join, so it will move to the waiting state, or you can say blocking state. So from running state, it will move to the next state. So that is called blocking state if I call T2.join method. Okay, we have some other kind of function method prototype of join method we will discuss in a few minutes. Right now you have to understood that when a running thread T1 is a running thread, want to pause for some times and want to execute his tasks after completing the T2. That means join me at the end of T2. Join me at the end of T2. Clear? All right. So what is the purpose of join method? So if any thread want to wait to complete his execution of other thread, then we should go for the join method. Please remember, if any thread wants to wait to complete his execution of other thread or wait for some time for the other thread, then we should go for the join method. So this is the purpose of join method. You can take any other analogy also. For example, suppose in our daily life we have seen the marriage ceremony. In marriage ceremony we have several activities. For example, venue fixing, activity. So one of my activity is venue fixing. Another is, for example, wedding card activity. So wedding card printing activity. And wedding card distribution. Suppose we have a 3 activity in wedding ceremony. First one is venue fixing, second one is wedding card printing, third one is wedding card distribution. Suppose this part is executed by T1 thread. Okay, this part is executed by T1 thread, and this part is executed by T2 thread. Okay, and this part is executed by T2 thread. So when the wedding card printing activity T2 wants to execute, he has to wait to complete the T1. After completing T1, because if I don't fix the venue of wedding ceremony, then how can I print the address of the wedding card in the wedding card? So T2 has to wait to complete of T1 job. So here we can call the join method. So that means we will call T1 dot join. So that means after completing T1, the T2 is ready to execution. Similarly, if I don't print the card, then we cannot distribute the card distribution activity. We cannot participate in card distribution activity. So that means if the card has not printed, then we cannot distribute it. So T2 has to wait for complete the T2. T3 has to wait for T2. So here we can also call the join method. I hope you can understood. So now join method is used when if any thread want to wait to complete the execution of other thread, then we should go for the join method. So next is what are the prototype which are available. So we have a three prototype. First one is public, final, void, join. Second one is public, final, void, join, long millisecond. And third one is public, final, void, join, log millisecond, comma int nanosecond. Now what is we have one no argument function, and two function, one no argument method, and another one is one argument method, another is two argument method. So you can someone may ask me that what is the difference between long millisecond and int nanosecond. Sometimes it will happen that nanoseconds means, suppose I want to compare with our money. If I want to go to bank, if I want to write a check for 2,500, we can say in this way, but we cannot say 2,500. Okay, is better we can say 2,500. So like that, if the range of the nanosecond is 0 to 299, if 999, if it is more than 999, so it automatically goes to the millisecond. So that's why we have a two parameter here. One of the parameter is long millisecond, another is nanosecond. So we have a three kind of join method which are available in our thread class. So now the question is, when somebody waiting for, in this example, Suman is waiting to complete the Raju's class, but in between, in the meanwhile, someone, for example, Priya come into the picture, and Priya called Suman, why are you waiting outside of the class? So Suman told her that he is waiting for complete Raju's class. So it means that then Priya told to Suman that she thought that she will go along with Suman. So Suman thought that it will be better to go with Priya. So it may be one of the choice. Better wait for complete Raju's class. So he better he go with Priya. It may be happen. So what does it mean? I want to mean that some interrupt may be happen in between. When a thread is waiting to join at the end of complete of other thread, it might be happen that the thread can be interrupted by some other activity. So in this respect, every thread throw a interrupted exception. So every prototype which has been discussed so far has a prototype that is called, we can write throws exception, interactive exception, interrupt, interrupted exception. So both method, this one also throws interrupted exception. Don't worry about that. What does mean the exception? We will discuss when we will cover the exception chapter. So right now you have to remember that we have a 3 join method, and those join method, every join method might be interrupted exception. So it might throw interrupted exception. So now take a simple example of our join method. Suppose I'm just taking the same class name, class myThread, extend thread, and public void run for int I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Then we have used system.out.println child thread. Within this for loop, I have taken try thread.sleep. For 2000 millisecond. After that, catch interrupted exception E. Then this is a blank body. So my for loop is completed, my run method is completed, my class is completed. And you know that if I want to run the run method, we have to create a class. So class thread join demo. So thread join demo, public static void main string args, and within that we have to create the object myThread of this class. myThread is equal to new myThread. So t.start. Okay, when we call the t.start, the run method will be executed. We know that. Now when we call the t.start, the run method will be executed and the first child thread will be printed. After that, we have created we have called a sleep method. We will discuss later what does mean the sleep method. Right now, for understanding that, if I call the sleep method for 2000 milliseconds, so that means it will wait for 2 seconds, right? So it will wait for 2 seconds, then the next loop will be continued. next loop, next child thread will be printed. Again 2 seconds has to be paused. Then again child thread will be printed. In this way the run method will be executed. So every time it will print child thread, then wait for 2 seconds, then again reprint child thread. In this way the loop will be continued 10 times. So that means this process has to wait for 10 into 20 means 20 seconds has to be wait, and 10 times the child thread will be executed, right? And if I call after that t dot join, what that means, up to this point the thread which has been responsible for executing, here the current thread was main thread. When you call t dot join method means first the child thread will be executed, then we will complete the remaining code of the main thread. So I am just writing some remaining code. For example, int I equal to int I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Within the main method I am just printing system.out.println main thread. My public static void main is completed, then class is completed. Now compare with this one. If I simply use the join method, what will happen? Simply use the join method, what will happen? The t dot join, what does mean? First t will be completed. What is my t? T is my thread class is t. The instance of the my thread class is t. So first this portion of the code run method will be executed. So this portion will be completed first. After that we can execute the remaining main code of the main thread. So first we will get child thread, then 2 second pause, then child thread, then 2 second pause, then child thread, then 2 second pause. So we will print 10 times because the loop will be continued 10 times. So child thread will be printed 10 times and we have to wait for 10 into 22 means 20 seconds we have to wait. So this is the normal join method. And after that we will print main thread, main thread, main thread, main thread. So if you don't use the join method, right now if you don't want to use the join method, if I comment in this line, what will happen? We know that after calling the t dot start method, it execute the child thread. At a time it will execute a main thread. We don't know which thread will be complete first. Whether this loop will be completed first or whether this loop will be completed first, we don't know, because it's totally depend on the thread scheduler. But when we are talking, we have just used this line t dot join method. That means I am just assured the main method will be executed after completing my child thread. Okay, so if this thread will be executed first, my child thread will be executed first, then my main thread will be executed. Then my main thread will be executed. This portion of code will be executed after finishing this portion of code. Now suppose we want to give some times, because we have seen that we have a three type of three kind of prototype of join method. We have a no argument but one argument which is long millisecond, and we have another argument long millisecond and integer nanosecond. So suppose I want to give some, I want to change this line. Let me put some time. So I am writing with other color. So t dot join, for example 10,000 millisecond. So what will happen if I say t dot join 10,000 millisecond? It means that the join method will be continue after 10,000 millisecond. So whether it has been waiting for 10 into 20 seconds, it will not continue this loop, because first 5 child thread, then 2 seconds, then 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 T2 join. So main thread will be executed. So what is the difference? Because when you say without argument, if I call the join method without any argument, it means that it will complete after total complete of this thread instance method. But when you specify some time, what will happen? It has to wait at least that specified long millisecond time, and after that it will be executed. But it totally depends on the thread scheduler. So when we call the thread join method, if I call the join method, what will happen? If I call the join method, what will happen? Look at that. It completes its execution. Okay. And it completes execution, but if T2 complete, then it will get back to the runnable state. Otherwise, if time is expired, then it will get back to the runnable state, or waiting thread is interrupted by some of the other thread. If waiting thread is interrupted by some of the other thread. So we have seen in the example of Priya Suman that if someone is interrupted, so during the joining period, when a thread in the waiting state, it may be interrupted. So it may be interrupted means it can join by after the expired time is finished, or it may be joined immediately if the thread is interrupted by someone. That is all about the join method. Please please remember that join method, yield method and sleep method, both three methods are very important for the exam. We can use any of the interviewer may ask, what is the difference between join method and yield method? What is the difference between yield method and sleep method? What is the difference between join method and sleep method? So they can interchangeably ask any question, the difference between each of the method.